Hannibal's going to put a little clip up. I
Yeah.
think we have a lot of, I know Nova's a father. I don't know if there's any dad. If you're a dad, if you have children at home or if they're grown, let us know in the comments. Give us a little like thumbs up if you're a father, and let's
Yeah.
watch a clip he's going to throw up.
Yeah, we're gonna about a minute and 15 seconds. Let's put up right now.
If my father only knew that the last thing I needed from him was money, the last thing that was going to impress me about him was a car. The last thing I was going to think about was, yo, did you see Dad's house?
Yeah.
I was never going to think of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I remember about my dad? I remember my dad used to get paid on Friday nights and he used to take us to go get some pizza. I remember that. And those are the best times of my life.
Yeah.
I remember my dad waking us up early on a Saturday morning and taking us to go to the barber shop to get a haircut.
I remember
Those are some of the
days.
best times of my life.
Yeah.
I remember Sunday mornings, my dad making oatmeal, no one knowing what he put in it. And just being like, yo, this is amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Now that I'm a father,
Yeah.
every Friday, I get paid a lot, but I get paid from everywhere, different places. But every Friday,
Yeah.
pizza.
Pizza for the kid.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, son, we going to the barber shop. I take my son to the barber shop, get him his haircut.
Wow.
I'm making oatmeal and putting stuff in, putting nutmeg, cinnamon, browns. They don't know what's in this thing.
Yeah.
That's a legacy that's been
Absolutely.
passed down.
You kind of, I think about my dad, and it's always the small moments that are the most important. The small moments, the moments of like the best memories of my father. He's still around, obviously, but watching boxing. He got me into boxing, like because it was one of the few sports he liked. He didn't watch. He said he grew up watching football and basketball, but he didn't really. He cared about boxing, and when you watched, he got excited when he saw a good combination. And he wasn't necessarily always the most excitable guy. So when you saw him excited watching boxing, it make you feel better because you feel good. He's like, wow, this is actually interesting. So those small moments at the time, he probably didn't think that was a big deal, right? And even some of the things I do with my son, I don't think it's a big deal. But that's important to put that time in there of the small things because that's what they're going to remember. Hanging out where you did put time and you paying attention to them, or you did something silly to make them feel better, or when they were sick, you did something to help them out. Like those moments are really, really important. And it just feels like, it's hopefully more men are doing that. I'll just say hopefully more men are doing that.
Yeah, no, for real, man. I saw that today and it just reminded me memories, like as a kid, you talking about your father. My dad used to make pancakes and certain songs and things we'd listen to in the car and conversations, like little, just, coach my baseball team when I was young. Like it just reminded me, like, kids don't give a damn about how much you make.
No.
They want your time. They want you to be around for them when it matters. And I've always thought moments are important in life. What do you remember? Right? You're going to remember bad stuff, but you also will remember good stuff. And being a father, like, it's not always easy because you're always wanting, a lot of us are trying to be providers. So we're working a lot. We're hustling. We want to give our kids something. We want to provide. We want to make sure they got the new shoes. They got the things they want. They got the new phone. That shit don't matter to these kids. Even if they tell you it matters, it don't matter. They want to make sure you're at their games, at the music recitals. You're picking them up from school and you're on time. And it's just wild, man. Like, kids don't care about that. Like,
and like you said, they may think in their mind at the time that is important for the material stuff, but when they get older and they will look back, they realize no, those, because we don't cherish those times in the moment. We should try to, right? As people, like, we should, when you realize you have a good time, really cherish it, because it may be, you may not ever be in this way again, right? Like they'll say, they'll be the last time you'll pick up your kid, like physically, like pick them up and hold them. It will be the last time, because eventually it get to a point where, like, I'm not picking your ass up, you're too big, but there'll be a moment that's the last time. So it's like those things are very important. And we talk about hip hop in this channel at times. My favorite, that's the songs that my father played he will play this song 500 million times. These are the songs he'll play. Coolio, rest in peace, Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise. He'll play that 10 million times. Old Dirty Bastard, Shimmy Shimmy Y'all, and
Shimmy,
Brooklyn
shimmy,
Zoo.
y'all, shimmy, yeah,
He
shimmy,
will
yeah.
play those three 500 million times. And what's another really good song? Black Rob's Whoa.
Oh, that's a banger,
Yeah.
man.
So
Oh,
basically
I love
every
that song.
very like the anthems, he would but those like,
Yeah.
and then when he was really, really, really feeling like he was in his bag, he played that Been Around the World and I not the remix with Puff Daddy. The
Oh, but
one
the
with the kid.
original.
The original.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, he's a very tough guy. So you would never like look at him like, why are you listening? He's like, yeah, that's good song. Like,
I'm
why
gonna
you
have to listen to that original again. I'm gonna have
never
to listen to
oh
that.
yeah. It's I
Yeah,
mean, the sample from Puff Daddy was nice, but no, the original's the best. It is the
yeah,
best. I mean, I forgot her name. But it was a really good song. It's like also him bringing me into hip hop. Like he was
Mm,
really into rap and hip hop, and I think that's where I got my love
that's
from him because he
awesome,
would
man.
play on the
That's awesome.
radio, Hot
Yeah,
97, fuck Master Flex. I know he's annoying now, but
yeah.
so those foundations of things that you like are based on hanging out with your dad, like certain
Mm,
foods that you like to eat. I love steak because he likes steak. Like those
mhm,
type of things that you kind of bring the snacks you used to eat. So it's really
mhm,
important to take time. Yes, you need to work, and now we're working more jobs. Now you
mhm,
got the full-time job with the side hustle. A lot of people are
mhm.
doing the gig work as well, and it's like you're not home. They notice that when you
Yeah.
out every holiday because the money is there during the holiday. They're gonna notice that they
Mhm.
may not they're not be able to articulate that, but they will notice it, and
Yeah.
it can affect them in a negative way if you're just not there often enough. Because sometimes they may need to talk to you about something important,
Yeah.
but if you're not there, how are they gonna talk to you?
Yeah. You might miss that moment, right?
Yeah,
And just to come home and ask them how their day was and what was the best part of your day. What was the rough part of your day? Like those simple kind of questions and conversations. And as your kids get older, they'll stop at points wanting to answer. That's a good question, by the way. Let's get to that in a minute.
yeah,
Good question, Hector. But you have to still just keep answering them. It's what I've learned as a dad. I have a daughter that's 21. There's a time where she was like, she didn't want to talk to me. She want nothing to do with me. She's, they get older, they start to
yeah,
fade,
yeah,
but you have to try to still be consistent. It's hard, and I think to answer your question, for all y'all Nova 2, what is the hardest part of being a father is, for me at least, it's knowing what is that balance, like I mentioned earlier, of trying to be a provider, but then also being like present, right? Because if you're hustling and you're really working a W-2 and then you got a side job or you're trying to build a business or whatever it is that you're doing, you're working 60 hours a week,
yeah,
50, 70, whatever that number is for you. You got to work a lot of holidays depending on the industry that you're in. If you are off on weekends, but maybe Saturday's your golf day, right?
yeah,
Because you're trying to do something for yourself, but then it's having for me, the balance of being a provider and being able to my kids have what they needed, but then okay, well, how do I save and make sure the future's secure? But then being like present was always a struggle. It still is a struggle for me. I've gotten better, but it's still something that I question myself. You have this like guilt of like, am I doing enough? Am I present enough? Am I giving my daughters enough time? And it's a hard thing.
yeah. I like Bobby's answer. Like, you never want to see them unhappy, but you can't control it always. Yeah, you can't always
Mhm.
control it. I think a lot of that is
Yeah.
I guess it's because I don't necessarily have necessarily it's not necessarily hard to raise him because I think my son is actually a good person. If he wasn't a good person, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta deal with this. But he's a good person. So now
Yeah.
I'm worried about everything else around him, his
So he doesn't become
environment.
bad. So it doesn't
Yeah,
like,
like
yeah.
I literally had this conversation yesterday talking to my chick about what kind of woman he's gonna talk to. Oh, these women
Mm,
out here, I don't know, man, because these women out here, and he's gonna look at a woman that's she be good looking, but she's gonna be crazy. And and I'm thinking I've already have to give him that speech. Like, listen, if a woman puts her hands on you, anytime it's
yeah.
you have to leave. Like, I'm already prepping him because I don't want him to have a kind of relationship with a woman where he is struggling, where if they had kids and now there's a custody battle, he has to worry about, you know, paying money and this and that. Cause I've seen a few of those stories and
Mm,
they sound terrible. Like, so
yeah.
like, that's what I'm worried about. Like the kind of world that he is growing up to become a man in, that concerns me. And I feel with what Bobby's saying, I don't know how to control that. I can't control, can't I can't nerf all everything around him. So he's going to have to take his falls. He's going to have to take his L's because that's how you learn. But that's difficult to let him do that, right? Especially how you see society is turning in and doing some weird, odd things that it's like, damn, like how do you know? The most you can do is just you talk to them, you lead by example, you know, that kind of thing. But that's my kind of like my struggle is like, man, I see some things going on, and I want him to have a good relationship with a woman and able or whatever, but good relationships where he is not struggling, going back and forth, dealing with the drama that I see so many people having arguments outside in the street, middle of the night, screaming at each other. And like, yeah, they're going through it. Like, I hope.
But you know, it's your kid's they're gonna struggle. And I think as a parent, and you have a son, I don't have a son. So I think it is different too when you're raising a man, a boy, a young man, you're raising a girl into a woman. It's very different. So I can't, I can only imagine it's different because if I had a son, I'd look at things different and how I would move, and the conversations would be very different. And some might not agree with that, but it would be different. What I would worry about would be different. You know, what I would try to instill in them might be different. You know, good people are good people, but men and women are different. And society looks at us different. And, you know, for me, it's like, I always like think like it's okay to not be okay. You know, and I think sometimes kids just need to know you're there. As simple as that sounds, it's like if they're having a bad day with their girlfriend or they choose the wrong woman, or if my daughter's, you know, having a rough day at school or this or that, you just have to sit with them in that and be empathetic with them and tell them it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to be mad. It's okay that you didn't do good. Like, you know, and then just say nothing else. Like, just let them know it's okay. They're not different for that. They shouldn't be ashamed of that they made a mistake, or, you know what I'm saying? I think kids just want they want to know that they can trust that you will unconditionally love them and give them, you know, and not always feel like we have to, as fathers, give them advice and overanalyze too much, you know, like we just have to just be there.
And that's something that you have to deal with that probably more than I do, because you're raising daughters, and you know, you learn that later in life as men, that a lot of times when a woman is trying to talk to you, they're not looking for the answer. They just want you to listen. So I definitely took a while to figure that out, but but also, at least for my son and dealing with boys, and you know, the podcast episode we did about how, you know, some of the boys are getting left behind in terms of grade school, and how some families look at the boys as, well, hopefully he'll figure it out. But you know, our daughters, you know, they're gonna go to college, they're gonna get the advanced degrees because just the school system is just a little bit constructed where they're thriving, and that's great, right? But the boys are like, you know, still running around, falling off the chairs, and like, oh, you know what, he'll figure it out, or he'll get a trade school or something like that.
Falling off of chairs is very specific.
Oh well, that was me in kindergarten. That was one thing they were like, he kept falling off the chair. I found it funny. I found it interesting that I still hold him accountable for his actions. So that's another really big thing that I stress with my son is, when you mess up, you must take accountability for it. Don't point fingers and why it didn't work out. And I want him to do that to feel comfortable about taking accountability, because I feel like a lot of young men, they'll blame everybody when something goes wrong before they blame themselves. Like no, this is your fault.
It's our pride, because we're more prideful most of the time. I think.
So I think,
you know,
like, you want to take accountability for your actions, self-own. It's at least when I've started to really put that in my life, it's easier to move forward. It's like I have control of this, and sometimes it's things that don't have control, right? But he's like, okay, I got this. You know, I made a mistake. Yeah, I've depended on a person, but at the same time, it's my responsibility because I chose to do that. And I think once you realize that, you learn from your lessons, rather than, because you can talk to anyone that went to jail, right? They'll give you 5,000 reasons why they're in jail.
Oh yeah.
And it may not even the first one.
First thing they're going to say is, well, I didn't do it. They're all innocent, but then they're going to give you reasons as to why.
I was in a bad neighborhood. I wasn't raised right, and all that stuff. And it's like, the first thing you have to do, just like any kind of addiction or something that you're dealing with, this is my fault. I put myself in this position. Okay, so that helps because now it's like, okay, how do I get out of it? I've already admitted that, hey, this is my mistake. Now let's step forward and figure it out. So that's
Yeah.
another really big
Yeah.
lesson that I'm trying to get him to learn. And he understands that. He understands that. And he's like I said, raising someone you like is good. Because if you
Well, it
raise someone you
makes it.
don't like,
Yeah,
it's not-
I think it makes it as weird as it might sound. Because kids are kids, like and I think you could have 4 kids and like let's not kid ourselves. You got out of those 4, one of them is going to be your favorite, just a little bit for different reasons,
yeah,
and it could change, as life goes because things change, people change, a little bit,
yeah,
interests change. But like when you're spending time with your child and you actually enjoy their presence and they're not a complete knucklehead or rude or they're a
yeah,
good person, it makes it a lot better, more enjoyable for sure.
yeah.
You know what
Because
I'm
they're gonna
saying?
have
Like,
mistakes, they're gonna have their ups and downs, but like
yeah,
they are a good person
they're a good
internally,
person.
so
Yeah.
like you're good to go. So
Well, I
but
think a big difference is too is you and your girl are together. You've been together, so you have a family dynamic. You
yeah,
guys are under the same roof, and I think your son sees that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't
yeah,
have that with my first born,
mhm,
Gabby. Me and her mom didn't. We lived together for like 6 months when she was a baby, so she didn't remember it. But me and my girl now, we're a family dynamic. So my
yeah,
daughter's 15 months and she's seeing that, and there's a routine, and that goes into the makeup of a young child as they're being born, as they're being raised.
yeah.
So
It's,
shout
the-
out to
it's
you for that. A lot of you say he's a good kid. Well, that has to do with you and your wife. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. My parents divorced when I was 12, so I think that's a learning lesson that I saw, and they did not want they should not have been together. Like it's
Yeah.
not like they'll stay together. Nah, y'all niggas ain't
No, my parents. Yeah,
divorced.
I think I was 11 when my parents got divorced, and
Yeah,
they needed
they
to get
needed like
divorced.
y'all not getting
Yeah.
along. But I
Yeah.
did look at that and was like, well, if I get that opportunity, I'm gonna really make sure it's a good fit because yeah, you want to have some kids are like, yeah, my parents been together for 30 years. I'm like, you son of a that's great because that's the kind of thing that we all would want. Like our parents would be good. But listen, if it's not gonna it's not you guys not getting along, just separate. Like don't try to make it work. If it's not gonna work,
Yeah.
because the kids don't want to hear the argument, stuff like that.